What's up, everybody? Robocon here, coming back at you with another Sword of Convallaria video. And today, what I want to show you is how to beat Weapon Trial 1. I'm going to be demonstrating this with the level 55 clear, and we're going to be going over what the boss does so that you know how to clear it yourself. Just a little caveat here. My exact moves may not be the exact moves you have to do. I have noticed between my run and various other runs that I've seen that there are different placements of certain effects on the ground that you're going to have to be aware of. And that's mainly why I want to give you a walkthrough of this, because when you try and recreate this, it may not be exact, and you're just going to have to be able to adapt on the move. And the best way to do that is by knowing exactly how to adapt. So before we go any further, let's take a look at the team I'm going to be using here. So initially, I'm going to definitely be using Beryl, mainly because she has very high magic DPS with Choo Choo Choo. Mine is 5-star. You do not need a 5-star. A 1-star is fine. You can also replace Beryl with any other range DPS that does very high range DPS. Mainly what we want on her is Choo 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 and the energy restoration trait. And we'll just be using all the equipment we can to boost her magic damage as much as possible. Secondly, we want Anana. Anana is going to be used predominantly for her Princess's Prayer and for Soulmate. We want that co-attack and co-defense to get the boss down as quickly as possible and to stay as healthy as possible with co-defense. We just have a bunch of healer gear on her. I'm using Reorganized Cube, Spring Tonic in case you need some additional healing, and then the healing trinket here. The key to this fight is going to be keeping characters that you want topped off, because there's an ability on this boss that we'll take a look at in a second that targets the lowest HP character in the party. Our third is going to be Angel. She's going to be our primary healer. Again, I just have healing gear on her to make that as strong as possible. I did put Guidance of the Word on her just to give her some additional energy recovery if needed. Predominantly, we want her for Light of Healing, which dispels debuffs and does the ranged burst healing effect that we like so much off of her. Then we're going to be using Abyss. Abyss is going to be there just debuffing over and over and over again with Erosion to lower the boss's damage output and just keep doing what the skill says, eroding away at them. I just have some caster gear on them. You can put on whatever is the best and going to give you the most DPS out of these characters. You don't have any particular gear that's required. Just the best stuff you have that's going to let them do the most damage. And then I'm using Divine Grace, predominantly for covering shot, because we have so many ranged characters that are going to be pumping abilities into this guy. He can be back there doing some free sub DPS, as it were. And then he has a pretty good high damage percentage knockback shot that we're going to be using as well. Just standard ranged equipment. I got a steel crossbow, true sight lens, and Wheel of Fortune just to get the additional buffs. So that's what we're looking at for characters. You don't have to use these characters. You do want 3 ranged DPS. You don't need an Anana, but you're going to want at least like one good support or support / sustain. And then Angel is a good sustain. So now let's take a look at the run here. So we did this when we were a little bit lower. I think we were 43 or something. But again, predominantly what this is about is showing you those abilities and skills so that you can adapt and overcome given the team that you have on hand. All you want is the 3 main DPS, the 3 ranged main DPS, and then 2 supports, or 1 support in Anana, and then a sustain, or 2 sustains will do it as well. And then just smart placement as we go. Let's take a look at the boss's abilities so that we know what we're dealing with. So its trait is when it receives melee attacks, damage is decreased by 50, immune to the effects of stigmata tiles, which means it can't be affected by its own debuff on the floor. Its basic attack is Dust to Dust. It's just a 3 burst magic attack that applies 1 stigmata. What happens is at the end of the turn, per stigmata debuff, you lose 5% of your HP. That's why we want to have Angel out here with Dispels, and we also have Anana with her burst healing that can Dispel as well if necessary. Its reaction, when it receives a melee attack from the front, it deals 80% magic damage in AoE in a horizontal row of 3 tiles and inflicts 2 stacks of Stigmata and knocks the enemy back a tile. This is why we don't want to have melee characters, because that's just going to be extra damage done to those melee characters. You can use some like semi-melee characters like Dantelion, as long as he has the 2-tile range abilities that he's going to be using, because those are tagged as range or AoE. Then we have Calamitous Erosion, prepares for 1 turn, deals 180% AoE damage, and inflicts 3 stacks of Stigmata to all enemies in a 3x6 area. So it's going to fill up this area with a box. We're going to want to move out of the box. We have a whole turn to do that. Abyssal Gaze prepares for 1 turn and deals AoE damage to the target with the lowest HP percentage in all enemies within 1 tile radius. Deals 180% damage if there's only 1 target. The damage is decreased by 25 for each additional enemy hit up to 50%. So we're using the guard for this. We want the guard to be the lowest HP, so it gets this targeted around it and nuked. And then we can selectively pick who we want to do, who we want to get it on from there, or summon an additional guard back and just keep doing it with them. We can split this damage down to 130% damage per target, which means it probably won't one-shot everybody, but it will put them very low. And that is also something that you can do. Just make sure you stack 2 additional characters around the person with the box, and you're good to go. And then Serotipitous Gaze, extra, passive at the end of the turn, locks onto 2 random enemies in the battle to inflict 2 stacks of Stigmata, meaning at the end of their turn they're going to be minus 10% HP, and charge the tile into Stigmata Realm, lasting 3 turns. So we'll show what that looks like here in just a second. So that's what we have here. So to get this kicked off and kind of run through it, we did marching order already just to give us some additional movement. And the guard has been summoned. We move forward with Abyss and cast Erosion just to start debuffing the enemy and putting some damage on them. Anana's guard, we're going to move towards the back so we can start kind of tweaking that to get the HP down to where we want it to be, so it's targeted by the attack. It casts Dust to Dust on Abyss here, so Abyss takes some damage. And then as you can see, the Serotipitous Gaze goes off and puts a realm box underneath each of them. What happens with these realm boxes is, amidst the Strength of the Tarot, when a character stays, 2 stacks of Stigmata is activated. This effect lasts until the end of the battle. Now, I've found that the difference in a lot of different runs that I've seen is Serotipitous Gaze doesn't necessarily always go on the same people. And that's the randomness of it, I guess, from account to account. So that's what you need to be aware of, because these can lower your HP a lot and get your HP out of position for you to put that attack, the Abyssal Gaze attack, on who you want to. So moving forward with Barrel, Choo 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 for some big damage. Then we're going to move forward and we cast Covering Fire with our Divine Grace so we can start getting some sub DPS out of them. Because if both of these characters attack, then 2 attacks is going to generate 2 sub DPS shots, which is better than 1 big shot out of Divine Grace. We move forward with Angel, heal everybody up with the Healing Light spell. Move Anana over. We cast Soul Grace so that everyone gets the co-attack, co-defense, so they're taking less damage, doing more damage. And then she does her innate healing there. We cast Erosion again with Abyss. Divine Grace does his sub DPS shot. Leave Abyss where they're at. And then what you could see there before is that we moved here our guard up onto this up onto the Stigmata realm so that he took some damage, so we can start chipping away his HP to get him to be the lowest. And then the boss casts its ability where it's going to blow up everything in this 3x6. So we have a full turn at this point to get out of here before everyone gets nuked. So that's what we're going to start doing. We move Barrel over for a Choo 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 off to the side, and then move Barrel a little bit back so that we can move Anana over for the Princess's Prayer and be in range, because we're going to want to stack a lot of people over here. and we get the assisting shot, the sub DPS from Divine Grace after doing that. Divine Grace does his knockback shot. It's the highest DPS shot he has for 2 skill points, and then moves off to the side. We're going to move Angel over here as well and just do some healing, removing some, dispelling some debuffs. Beryl didn't really need the healing, but they're topped off and they have the debuff dispelled now, or at least 1 stack of it. Inanna moves over here, Princess Prayer. We're going to put this on Beryl so that they can go do some additional DPS. We want that DPS from Beryl because it is the highest DPS we have in our group. Abyss is not going to stack over here. We're going to stack them off to the side on the other side and cast Erosion, continuing to debuff. Abyss is kind of low, but we're able, with the multiple ticks that have stacked up on the guard now, get them lower. So here's our big alley attack. Nobody's there, which is great. And then Abyssal Gaze is cast, and as you can see, we have the red box on our guard back there, and that's exactly where we wanted it. That guy is just going to get nuked at this point. Beryl comes to the center, casts a standard attack, doing a little bit of damage. We'll bring Divine Grace behind and hit him with another knockback shot, just doing more DPS. We have an opportunity here. Everyone's pretty topped off, so we'll bring Angel out and hit him again just to get some chips off there. We'll bring Inanna out. We don't really need to cast the big heal because everyone's kind of topped off, and her Pearl of Iria will take care of the rest, so we just kind of stop there. Bring Abyss back, cast Erosion. As we can see, we got some low HP, but we can also see that the guard is definitely the lowest HP. And then, boom, Abyssal Gaze eradicates them. And then we have our basic attack happen on Beryl up at the front, along with them stacking the additional stacks of Stigmata on these random characters. So we can see where our boxes are, where the Stigmata realms are. We chew with Beryl, move Divine Grace off to the side, and cast the sub DPS covering fire again. Angel will heal everybody up. We'll bring Inanna up as well. We cast everything so we get the co-attack again. I forget what it's called again off the top of my head. I'm sorry. All these abilities. It is Soulmate. So we go up, cast Soulmate again so that we get the co-attack and co-defense, which is fantastic. Kind of keeping our attack up and our defense up. Move on to round 5. Abyss casts Erosion again. We don't have to move anyone out of the way because we don't have the big slam box coming. We get sub DPS off Divine Grace there from the Erosion cast. Here we go. Now we have the alley. We have to start moving out of the way again. So we move Beryl off to the side. I did cast Marching Order at the beginning of the turn. Beryl moves over, does some chew, and then moves out. We have to, at this point, decide, do we want to resummon, or do we just want to put the Abyssal Gaze on one of our characters here and try and tank it with everybody and top them off and get 3 in the box so it spreads out the damage or lessens the damage to everybody. We do a knockback shot with Divine Grace, bring them over off to the side as well. Angel comes in, we do an individual healing spell. We've decided we're going to put the Abyssal Gaze on Inanna at this point. So we'll bring Inanna over here, put her in the back, make sure when she gets tapped and her HP gets down, we're not going to do anything about it. Abyss goes over there. They're real close in HP to each other right now. We got 26-23 and 29-56, but it should, actually no, we put Abyss over here. We're going to get it on Abyss. So let's take a look. We do the big boom in the alley. Perfect. We're going to drop the Abyssal Gaze. It does go on Abyss. Abyss does the least damage out of the 2 remaining range DPSs. That's why we chose Abyss. But we're hoping we can save them. The boss is really low at this point for me. It may not be really low for you. You might be looking at like a quarter HP. We just have to continue this dance at that point. So we move over, do our knockback shot. The boss is looking like I can kill it with one more ability. But we're still going to move as if we need to keep playing. We bring Angel over here into the box as well. Heal everybody up. Anana comes over. Heals everybody up again. We're getting ready for the big erosion explosion. Abyss will come into the middle. We're going to split the damage between everybody, but Abyss kills the boss. If the gaze were to go off there, it's going to do a lot of damage to a lot of different characters. We don't need to have everyone in there because of it only splits between 3. But, so be it. This was the way to do it so that we could have everyone topped off and be able to take this. It'll put everyone pretty low on health, but it won't kill them outright. And then we can just re-heal again using Healing Light and Anana's abilities. If we needed the additional energy for Anana to heal, we would urgent order her to give her the 1 additional energy so she could do the group healing again, and probably pop her Spring Tonic if she needed to be topped off. And then we continue the dance. It's just picking where that Abyssal Gaze buff is going to go in the party, and then moving out of the way of the 3x6 box so that not everyone gets nuked. And that's the fight. Once you complete that fight at 55, you're good to sweep from there, which means you now have a possible chance of getting a legendary weapon. And that's what we're looking at so that we can continue to farm, right? We want to have the best possible chance to get the gear that we want and also to progress our challenges. So as you can see up here, we're at possible, frequent for golds, common for silvers. I did sweep today and I got 1 gold and 2 silvers. So, it is what it is, but we want to maximize our ability to get the best gear possible.